Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this in one go, so if I stumble over my words going forward, so I apologise in advance. I should also apologise in advance if the quality of this video isn't too good later on, if there's any lag. Sadly, it cannot be helped. Hopefully that's not too much of an issue for you. Today I am filming a video that I only planned to film last night after watching somebody else's video. This is going to be me talking about my favourite entries from every country that has participated in Eurovision over the past decade, so from 2010 to 2019. The video that inspired this one that you're watching now was uploaded by Meg ESC, a brand new channel here on YouTube. Please do go and subscribe to her and check out her videos. I'm sure she'll be uploading more over the coming weeks and months. She does have another channel as well, and I thought it was a pretty good idea. I don't think I've filmed a video like this before, so now's the time. I'm just going to adjust my lamp a little bit. I think that's a bit better. So I have my massive spreadsheet in front of me, and this won't be the most riveting video, but here are my favourite entries from every country that has participated in Eurovision over the past decade, and I'll give you my brief thoughts on the performances as well. So, Albania's first, and my favourite entry from Albania over the past decade was from last year, Jugend Pepper with Mal. Bit of a rock song from Albania, something a bit different. Usually we get female ballads, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I always prefer something different from Albania, if I'm being honest. And this entry was fantastic. Probably the best male vocals we've had in Eurovision, maybe this century so far. They were honestly that good, in my opinion. Terrific performance, lots of red and blue lights, and a very confident performer at the helm. Fantastic stuff. In my personal top 10 last year. Andorra weren't involved. Armenia, my favourite is Aram MP3 with Not Alone, and this was Armenia's entry back in 2014 in Copenhagen. A bit of a slow burner of a song. Started off quite plain and simple, and then all of a sudden in came the flashing lights and this huge chorus, and it was a very, very striking performance, and I thought it was very well done, and it did finish very high up on the leaderboard that year. Then we have Australia, and my favourite is from this year, Zero Gravity by Kate Miller-Heidke. Terrific performance. Not as incredible, in my opinion, as some other fans were making it out to be, but absolutely terrific. Fantastic vocals. And again, a very striking performance. You couldn't look away from it. At least I couldn't. I thought it was just wonderful. And I thought Australia were going to push harder for the win, but in the end, never really came close. You have to say that the public points, a little bit disappointing. Anyway, fantastic from Australia. Austria, according to my spreadsheet here, it's 2013. The first song from the first semi-final that year, Shine by Natalia Kelly. Very young at the time, probably early 20s, if that. I think she was born in America. This was a very plain performance, and I think that's why it didn't qualify. It wasn't the most visually interesting performance at all, but a pretty good song. The studio version's pretty good as well, and a little bit underrated, I think, by Eurovision fans. That is my favourite Austrian entry of the past decade, believe it or not. Then we have Azerbaijan, and according to my notes, it's the actual winner for Azerbaijan in 2011, Ellen Nicky with Running Scared, in my personal top 10 that year. I completely understand that a lot of Eurovision fans see this as the weakest winner of the past decade, and to be honest, it is definitely one of the weakest, no doubt about it, if not the weakest. But it was one of the favourites to win in 2011, if I recall, and I'm not surprised it did. It wasn't the most incredible performance, but it did the job, if you see what I mean. And Azerbaijan have sent some very good songs, no doubt about it, but that's the one that's ranked highest for me over the past decade, Ellen Nicky. Belarus, well, taking a look here, it's a three-way tie. 2012, 2013 and 2015. So 2015 was Time, 2013 was Alyona Lanskaya, and 2012 was Light Sound. I've got to be honest and say, I think my favourite Belarusian entry of the past 10 years, the past decade, is 2015, Time, by Uzari and Maimuna. He tried to represent Belarus a fair few times. She was the violinist, I believe, on stage. Beautiful woman. A little bit of a repetitive song, no doubt about it, and it didn't qualify from the first semi-final, which I think is a little bit harsh looking back. But not a bad entry at all, pretty good stuff. I think a lot of people would say Navi Band, the Belarus duo in 2017, and I do like that song, but the 2015 entry is just that little bit higher in my personal ranking for me. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. Moving on to Belgium, so many great entries, but my favourite is last year in Lisbon's Senec, A Matter of Time. Didn't qualify, this sort of James Bond, mysterious, moody sort of tune, very cinematic in terms of its aesthetic. I thought it was really strong, but the live performance sadly was a bit of a letdown. I wasn't such a fan of Senec's outfit, this sort of partially see-through dress, and she was on the catwalk and I don't think she should have been, but a really fantastic song, and that's my favourite Belgian entry of the past 10 years, although not my favourite performance from Belgium, I think it has to be said. Moving on, my actual winner, by the way, Belgium last year, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, they haven't competed much, have they, this decade, so 2011 is the one that comes out on top for me. This was Dino Merlin with Love in Rewind. I think it finished 6th in Dusseldorf that year. A really likeable performance, very charming, very sweet, quite catchy. There was a guy running about the stage doing some dance moves, somebody else playing the triangle. Yeah, very charming, pretty good song. Bulgaria. My favourite is 2016, Polygenova with If Love Was a Crime. Fantastic performance. Not the most colourful performance, but very strong. Great vocals. Cesar Sampson, I believe, was one of the backing singers, backing musicians on stage. And yeah, this was tremendous. One of Bulgaria's very best from the past 10 years. One of the very best they've ever sent. Then we have Croatia. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Croatia in the contest, and in fact, it's very, very difficult to say which is my favourite Croatian entry of the past decade, because none of them have really made my personal final, if you see what I mean. I'm going to have to go with Jacques Hudek, with My Friend, from 2017, where he sort of duetted with himself. It was very strange and a bit comical, but to be honest, it wasn't that bad a song and it wasn't that bad a performance, so I'm going to say My Friend 2017 for Croatia. Cyprus, well, it's going to be La La Love by Ivy Adamu in 2012, in my personal top 10. Yeah, very good performance, very good song that I think was underrated, come the results, but also Fuego, Eleni Foureira last year. That was such a wonderful performance. As soon as I saw it in the semi-final, I thought, whoa, this is going to win. It certainly stood out that little bit more than the Israeli performance, in my opinion. So I'd say it's between 2012 and 2018, my personal favourite over the past 10 years for Cyprus. Moving on to Czech Republic, and it's going to be 2016, I Stand, Gabriela Gunchikova, a ballad that was criminally underrated in the results. The juries should have appreciated it more. The public gave it a big fat 0, which is very, very harsh. It was on early, that was the problem. It was a very static performance, but I thought it was very beautifully done, and the vocals were great, and I think the Czech Republic should be very proud of this entry because it was their very first entry to make the grand final. Moving on to Denmark, so many great entries, but the one that comes out on top for me is the actual winner for Denmark. In 2013, this was Only Teardrops by Emily de Forest. Liked it from the first time I heard it, sounded very much like a winner to me, and obviously Emily de Forest did go on to win quite comfortably in Malmö that year, and I think it's been a little bit pushed to one side by a lot of Eurovision fans, but I think it's a very good song. I still like it, still listen to it today. And Denmark have had some very, very good songs over the past 10 years. For me personally, I think they've had a very strong decade. Moving on to Estonia, and my personal favourite is my personal winner from 2015, Goodbye to Yesterday, Elina Born and Stig Rasta. I felt sure this was going to be in the top 5 at the very least, but it just missed out in the end. This was a fairly dramatic performance, I guess. Lots of tension between the two of them. That single tear down Elina's cheek. Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was very, very well done. At the national final too, where it was this sort of monochrome performance. Tremendous, one of Estonia's very best, and it's a song that is definitely one of my all-time Eurovision favourites. Moving on to Finland, and it is 2013, Krista Siegfrids with Marry Me. Again, a little bit underrated. This was a fan favourite that flopped, it has to be said. There was that lesbian kiss at the end that revolted a few people. But in all honesty, I thought it was a very fun performance, and yeah, very likeable. Little else to say about it. I also very much like Soft Engine, who represented Finland a year later with Something Better. France, well, looking at this, it's 2010 with Allez Ola Ole by Jesse Matador. Very, very fun performance that the juries didn't like, but the public really did. And Amaury Vassili with Sonyu, that Corsican language song, I believe, back in 2011. Yeah, but I really like Merci from last year, J'ai Cherché from 2016, Alma from 2017. Lots of decent French entries for me personally over the past 10 years. So very difficult to say, but in terms of which ones are higher ranked in my personal ranking of the entries from every year, it's 2010 and 2011. 2010 probably slightly more because it was such a fun, energetic performance. Georgia. Not many to select here, but it looks as though it's Warrior by Nina Sublati in 2015 and 2010. 2010 is my favourite Georgian entry of the past decade. This was Shine by Sofo Nizharadze, I believe her name was. Haven't got the details in front of me, I've just got the statistics. Really good ballad, fantastic vocals, maybe a little over the top. Perhaps you could argue that in terms of the production. But I thought this was really tremendous, and Georgia finished in the top 10 that year, I believe. One of their strongest ever entries. Moving on to Germany, and my favourite is Michael Schulte last year, You Let Me Walk Alone. He had that big screen behind him, the projections, really touching. I'm sure it tugged on many a heartstring across Europe and Australia, and I thought it was wonderful. And I'm so glad it finished as high as it did, because Germany had been really struggling in the competition, and to then finish 4th, almost 3rd, wonderful. Just a shame that this year they sort of lost the plot again. Moving on to Greece, and my favourite entry for Greece over the past 10 years, looking at this, is this year, Better Love by Katarine Duska. Very Florence and the Machine in terms of the vocals. The staging was a bit of a letdown. It wasn't as exciting as it should have been. It wasn't as engaging as it should have been. But the vocals were strong, and the studio version's really great, and the music video is pretty cool. But I think on that stage in Tel Aviv it just wasn't quite working. But I was surprised it struggled as much as it did. Only 20-something points from the public in the end. That's a big disappointment. Yes, Hungary. The Hungarian entry that I liked the most from the past decade. Oh dear. Looks as though it's 2011, Catty Wolf with What About My Dreams. This big blast of pop. Wasn't such a fan of the outfit she was wearing, but that doesn't really matter. The performance was fairly strong. It was one of the favourites to win, but it never came close. Although if I remember, Iceland, out of all the countries in Europe, Iceland gave this 12 points, I believe. So not a total disgrace in the end. But otherwise, I've not been a massive fan of Hungary's entries, it has to be said. And hopefully they'll be back in 2021. Moving on to Iceland, and my favourite Icelandic entry is from 2012. This was Greta Salome and Jonsi. Both of them have been at Eurovision before. Greta would be back rather, in 2016, didn't get out of the semi-final. Big surprise there. Jonsi had represented Iceland in 2004. This was a dramatic ballad. The music video was shot by Iceland's national football team goalkeeper. I don't know if he still is, but he was for a long time. This was a great song that I felt sure was going to finish in the top 10, but never came close. One of the most underrated entries of the past 10 years, in my opinion. Fantastic entry for Iceland, my personal winner that year, 2012. Ireland, well, it is 2014 in Copenhagen. Didn't get out of the semi-final either. This was Can Lin featuring Casey Smith with Heartbeat. Not a whole lot of movement on stage from Casey, but she had two guys doing some sort of light river dance thing next to her. And the stage was beautiful. I thought it was very aesthetically pleasing, but in the end it was just lacking a little bit of oomph, as I often say. Fantastic entry from Ireland though. Many other entries over the past 10 years I've liked as well. Usually a personal qualifier for me. Moving on to Israel, and my favourite one from the past decade, 2014 again. This was May Feingold with Same Heart. This was a huge piece of pop. So many flashing lights. It was such a striking performance. A very good singer in my opinion. I'm not really sure why this didn't do better. It really did fail, in all honesty. I think a lot of people were really getting behind it and then just chose not to vote for it for some reason. Yeah, very, very underrated, along with Ireland in that second semi-final in 2014. In my personal top 5, that Israeli entry, Same Heart, fantastic. Moving on to Italy, it's got to be Francesco Gabbani Occidentali's Karma, Westerners Karma, my personal winner from the Kiev competition in 2017. The performance at Sanremo with the orchestra, much stronger than how it was at Eurovision in my opinion. But this was tremendous. The lyrics of the song, his energy, the dancing guy in the gorilla costume. It was all a bit bizarre, certainly to neutral viewers, but it was such a clear favourite to win. And then it never came close, didn't even finish in the top 5. That's a real disappointment. I'm still not quite over it. But fantastic entry from Italy. What a decade they've had. Surely they will win again at some point. Latvia, not the best decade for them. Looking at this, 2011, Music, M-U-S-I-Q-Q, male duo, still making music now, with Angel in Disguise. This was a cool piece of pop that just didn't seem to get many votes at all. Really struggled in the second semi-final, I believe. Really good stuff, really good performance. I actually watched it back not so long ago, and that's my favourite Latvian entry of the past decade. Moving on to Lithuania, and it's got to be Ieva Zasimauskaite, Last Year in Lisbon, When We're Old. Beautiful ballad, very touching. Her real-life husband on stage. Not much else to say. It was just really, really pretty from start to finish. And I was so glad she got the chance to represent Lithuania at last, because she'd been in the national final with some very good songs in the years leading up to last year. Moving on to Luxembourg. Well, they didn't compete. Macedonia, North Macedonia. My favourite entry from them is 2017, and this was Dance Alone by Jana Burczewska, who was pregnant at the time, I believe. And she was also engaged. I think her partner proposed to her during a pause in the show during the second semi-final. Anyway, good song. The stage was a little bit empty and the studio version is stronger, but pretty good stuff from North Macedonia. A very fine entry indeed. Big piece of pop again. Malta. This year, Chameleon by Michaela Patch. Young, pretty performer. Very striking performance. You didn't actually see the backdrop really at all. You didn't see anything of the stage, and then only in the final chorus did the camera pan out, and it looked fantastic, sounded good. Michaela hopefully is going to go on and have a fantastic career. She won X Factor Malta, of course, and I look forward to seeing the music that she releases very soon. She did a song with Ira Losco not so long ago. I can't remember the name of it, but that was really good. Moving on, Moldova, and it is... This is where the spreadsheet gets a little bit iffy now. It is going to be 2010, looking at this. Sunstroke Project with Oliatira and Runaway. I think it was the first song in the first semi-final, was it not? And then it qualified and really struggled, finished towards the bottom half. I think it might have been in the bottom 5, actually. Lots of red. Epic sax guy, of course, who became quite well known across Europe and beyond. Pretty catchy song. Again, I use the word striking because it was quite a striking performance. That's my highest ranked Moldovan entry of the past 10 years, but I'm not sure it's actually my favourite. I think I prefer Hey Mama from Sunstroke Project, in all honesty. Moving on to Montenegro, and the only one here is 2014, Moj Svijet, My World, I believe that means, performed by Sergej Chetkovic, a very nice Balkan ballad, but in all honesty, a little bit forgettable as well. Moving on to the Netherlands, and it's 2014 all the way, The Common Linnets, Calm After the Storm, one of my absolute favourite Eurovision entries to date, full stop, fantastic, black and white, the camera panning around Ilse and Waylon, tremendous, absolutely brilliant stuff from the Netherlands. And Arcade is great as well. Outlaw Rhythm, fantastic. So many brilliant Dutch entries over the past 10 years, it's unbelievable. But I think Calm After the Storm is the undisputed number one here for me. Moving on, Norway. Good decade for Norway. It's got to be, well, 2013 is very high up. Margaret Berger, I Feed You My Love. But I think my favourite is from 2015, Mørland and Deborah Scarlett with A Monster Like Me. The music video is quite interesting. It's a sort of dinner party gone wrong, shall we say. This was a wonderful performance. You didn't see Deborah at all, and then Mørland just moved off screen, and there she was with the big ginger hair. They were both in white outfits, beautiful ballad, really interesting lyrics. You know, what did he do in his early youth, all of that business. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant entry from Norway. Poland, I'm trying to speed through this now. It's got to be 2014. My Slovenie, We Are Slavic, that's as close as I can get to it. Apologies if the pronunciation was bad there. Donatan and Cleo. Donatan wasn't on stage, he was probably just chilling in the green room. Cleo was doing all of the work, she had the other girls churning butter. I suppose it was quite a sensual, sexy performance from Poland, and certainly one of the strongest they've had this century so far. Really good stuff. I actually like it more now than I did at the time, that's for sure. Fantastic. And it was obviously going to do much better with the public than the juries. Portugal is O Jardim, probably the underrated entry from any country over the past decade. Claudia Pascual, beautiful woman with Isaura, who wrote the song. It's about her grandmother, and this was performed in Lisbon, so on home soil last year. It came last, unbelievable. This was such a beautiful ballad. It was over very quickly. It felt as though it was over very quickly. I think it's under 3 minutes. Might have been under 2 minutes 50 seconds. But anyway, really, really wonderful song. Very intimate. Pink hair. Fantastic. And Claudia has released a few songs since. Isaura has had an album out. And both of them doing good things. I really like what they've done since Eurovision. So hopefully they'll team up again in the future. But O Jardim, The Garden, fantastic. Absolutely my favourite Portuguese entry they've ever sent. Moving on to Romania. Well, form has been a little bit patchy, but it's actually Yodel It by Ilinka featuring Alex Florea back in Kiev 2017. This was obviously going to do quite well. It was a bit of a messy performance, those cannons on stage. Yodeling, not everybody's cup of tea, let's be honest. But I thought this was a fun performance. It was so bizarre, but there was something very catchy and likeable about it as well. Obviously going to do better in the public vote than the jury vote. It finished in the top 10 in the end. And yeah, I think Romania can be pretty pleased with that. Moving on to Russia. It's got to be Polina Gagarina from 2015, A Million Voices. A very, very strong ballad. All about peace and love and all of that business. Universal themes. Polina looked great and sounded fantastic. Also, Sergei Lazarev, You Are the Only One, from Stockholm 2016. That's a very good song as well. So it's a toss-up between those two. Two very, very fine Russian entries. That's when Russia are at the top of their game. And you have to have an amazing song to beat them if Russia are sending entries like that, in my opinion. San Marino, gotta be Chrysalide Vola. Performed by Valentina Moneta in 2013, her second entry in a row. She'd be back a year later, of course, and then again in 2017. This was good, starting off slow, and then this pulsating beat came in. I think she was wearing a sort of red crimson dress, something like that. This was tipped to qualify. In the end, it just missed out, but I think it's still quite popular with Eurovision fans today. Moving on to Serbia, and I think it is 2016. in Stockholm. This was Sanja Vucic with Goodbye Shelter. Really like the message of the song. It's a song about sort of abuse and everything, so quite a dark subject matter. But I thought the performance was excellent. Sanja, brilliant singer. She's part of a band now who I think have been rumoured to represent Serbia next year. This was wonderful, very underrated by the jury and the public, I feel. Really good stuff. Moving on to Slovakia, well, it's got to be 2010. Horeroni, which is a region in Slovakia, I believe, performed by Kristina Pelikova. The live performance could have been a little bit stronger. I think the backing vocalist was the issue, in all honesty, looking back. But it was really, really fantastic. And I can't believe it didn't qualify, because this song is still so popular with Eurovision fans. And I'd like to see Slovakia come back. Slovenia, well, it's got to be 2012, a song that didn't qualify. Verjamem, which I think means I believe, performed by young Ava Botto. And this was a wonderful Balkan ballad, very dramatic, a little bit theatrical, lots of female backing singers, and a very confident performance from somebody so young at the time. She must have been about 17 or 18, I think. Didn't qualify, unbelievable. Very, very strong entry, should have been in the final, but alas. Moving on to Spain, and it's 2014, I believe. No, it's 2016. My personal winner from that year, of course. Say Yay by Beret. Again, the studio version better than the live version. A very energetic song, quite catchy, a little bit repetitive. There was that fall during the live performance, which was supposed to happen. I didn't quite like that, to be honest with you. Yeah, the live performance was a bit of a disappointment. It came straight after Russia, and there was only going to be one winner there. But a really fantastic entry from Spain. Very upbeat, very hard not to like. But Pastora Soler in 2012, amazing ballad, criminally underrated by the public. And then also Ruth Lorenzo in 2014, another fantastic ballad right there. Brilliant vocals. Spain has so many great female singers. So many. Moving on to Sweden, well, where do you start? It's got to be my favourite Eurovision entry to date. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Anna Bergendahl, This Is My Life, 2010, didn't qualify, can't believe it. Beautiful ballad, all the glow sticks in the crowd in Oslo. Anna returned to Melfest last year with Ashes to Ashes. She's going to be performing Kingdom Come in Melfest next year. I really look forward to hearing that. I'm glad that she's resurfaced, for want of a better word. This Is My Life, an absolutely criminally underrated gem, in my opinion. Not many countries to go now. Switzerland, it's got to be this year's entry in Tel Aviv. She Got Me by Luca Hani. Lots of red, backing dancers, 2 women, 2 guys. Luca strutting his stuff. Fantastic, really confident performance, and absolutely should have finished as high up in the leaderboard as it did. Moving on to Turkey, well, they haven't really competed much this decade, have they? But it's got to be 2010, Manga, We Could Be the Same. Lots of flashing lights in that one. Woman dressed as a robot. I was familiar with Manga before they did Eurovision as well, and they're a very successful Turkish band. Very good song, was the runner-up that year. Can't say much else. And Ukraine, last 2 countries now. Ukraine, it's got to be 2014 looking at this. Maria Yaremchuk with TikTok, Guy in the Hamster Wheel. Not that hard to forget. Maria, probably early 20s at the time. Need to listen to music she's released since, actually. Really fantastic performance. It was the opening song of the 2014 final, of course. Good pop song, although the lyrics aren't exactly brilliant. And then the UK, it's Blue in 2011, I Can. This was a pop song, tipped to do very well. It was the juries who let us down. It would have finished in the top 5, I think, if it had been 100% televoting, but it wasn't. There was a green colour scheme, screens on stage showing the faces of the band members. That high note by Lee Ryan towards the end. Yeah, pretty good. We finished 11th, which is actually one of our best results this century so far, so we can't complain. And that's it. What a long, rambling video that was, almost half an hour. Wasn't expecting it to be that long. But feel free to let me know your thoughts. I might make a video very soon where I talk about my least favourite performances / entries of the past 10 years. That's it. What a long, rambling, not the most exciting video. But let me know your thoughts. I'm genuinely interested. Do check out Meg ESC as well. I think she's probably got... Well, how many subscribers does she have at the moment? Not many, because I think her channel only started a day or 2 ago. But I'm subscribed to it, and if you want to know her favourite entries from each country 2010 to 2019, you can do so. 6 subscribers. So if you're watching this video, Meg ESC, go and subscribe to her. Why not? One Eurovision fan supporting another. It's all good. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate it. And bye for now.